With that, I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day to be here. And I am your president, Jane Klingman Scott. Today, we will have a presentation. It's a literacy panel. So you're going to get a little literacy, and then you're going to get a lot of literacy later. And we also today are going to welcome back our student guest. So that's exciting. We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance, a little literacy message, and then the reflection will be offered by Brandon Turnbull. So now let us begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as Brandon makes his way up here, I will give you your little literacy for today, which is from Malala Yousafzai, the young lady who defied the Taliban by instructing young girls, making sure that they got some schooling. And she says, "Read thousands of books, and I will power myself with knowledge. Pens and books are the weapons that defeat terrorism."
It is said in the Gita, the individual self is the passenger in the chariot of the material body. Intelligence is the driver, mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. What happens then if one releases control of the reins? What happens if we put down the pen as the author in the narrative of our lives? The answer is chance. Chance lies somewhere in the space between luck and probability, between individual agency and complete absolution. Chance is what happens when we allow the path to unfold without expectation. We find chance, we encounter those fortunate accidents of serendipity in a state of wonder and through a lens of curiosity. We find what we seek when we make space for the feelings of trepidation to phase into the calmness of equanimity. We are all characters in this shared story. Today, let us give chance a chance. Let us loosen the bindings of expectation and make space for curiosity. Let us experience this day filled with wonder.
Thank you, Brandon. That was absolutely beautiful. Enjoy your lunch. We will reconvene in 10 minutes for our program.
Hey, John and Bob.
Hey there, how are you today?
Good, it's Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie, how you doing, darling?
Hi, I was driving when you and Bob were talking a few minutes ago, so I didn't get a chance to hit the button to say hi.
Where are you going to or from?
I just got back from grocery shopping, so I had to do
Right.
that today because I had an appointment downtown, and that's why I couldn't attend Rotary. I was going to be late.
You could drop those groceries off over here. Phyllis and I would enjoy that.
There weren't too many, but just a few things. How you doing?
Okay, we got to
Yeah.
get together to celebrate our celebrations.
I know that. I
Um,
know that. Jim and I were just talking a couple days ago about that
Well,
again.
Who's in charge of that? Is it on our end or your end?
We'll take care of it. It's just, we have had a lot of comings and goings lately. So it's been hard to find an evening or an afternoon even when we can get together. So,
Well, I'm
The-
getting bolder in my wheelchair. We have that mobility van, so I got to
Good.
get out and start seeing people and things.
all right, then we will get that scheduled. I'll get on Jim's case again.
There you go. Somebody should get on his case. All right.
Right. I try.
Yeah,
He's kind of slippery, you know, it's hard to get
Yeah.
on the case because he's always on the slide someplace,
I know that.
He's sliding off. Yeah, anyway, so I will slow down for a half hour to listen to our program and here we go.
Hey, you know, I'm thinking of going there on the 15th to the Rotary one.
The 15th?
Yeah. That's a life leadership one. And
Yeah,
I think our granddaughter Emma from Spring Lake is going to be part of that program.
cool.
And I think Phyllis will go with me to kind of help me in and out, but that's going to be
Okay.
first time in 3 years that I've been there.
That's exciting. Well, of course, a lot of other people weren't there for a whole year plus too, so
Boy, that's true.
you
That's
don't
true.
have to catch up for 3 years, but yeah,
No.
sure, everybody will be very happy to see you.
Well, I'll be happy to see them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, I'll put it on my calendar, make sure I'm present that day. I know I'm going to be there present next week. I haven't looked that far ahead, but I will make sure I can be there so that I can help too if necessary. And I certainly want to hear Emma.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So Steph and Dave and the girls are supposed to be coming up this weekend in an RV that they're
Oh,
renting.
my.
And they're going to keep it at Fran's for the weekend. That'll be
Where'd
kind of fun.
they come up with an RV?
I don't, someplace near where they live. They decided to, last time they were here, they rented an Airbnb very close to our first house.
Okay.
I think it was on Montgomery in Muskegon. I think that was the
sure.
street. Yeah. And that worked out fine, but it was kind of far, you know, I mean, it's 15 minutes, whatever, but they decided, no, they were going to see if they could do something and stay right at Fran's without staying in Fran's.
Yep.
And so they found an RV that you can lease, and they're coming up Friday night, leaving Monday. And the girls are all excited. So they'll have what are they calling it? A glamping experience.
Yes. Well, that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Well, greet them
So
for us,
that's-
okay?
I will.
Thanks.
Yes. All right. I'm gonna,
Emphatic there. Welcome back. You haven't gone anywhere, but I got welcome back your attention anyways. We have visiting guests and Rotarians, and so all of our members who are bringing guests, you can come on up here with them. Jason Piasecki, Jim Fisher, Rich Berry, Robert Mathis, and Todd Jacobs.
Susan Crane, your past president, introducing once again Dimitri Poland, who works at Brayburn Wealth Management, and he is going to be going to orientation next week and hopefully get voted in as a new member soon thereafter.
thank you. Welcome.
Jason Piasecki, your immediate past president. I'm here with Mason and Matt Schlafer, and many of you know Mason and Matt. They probably come to your front door or your business with Mason selling his fundraising wares for Boy Scouts. And if you don't know, Mason is a world champion fundraiser for Boy Scouts. Last year, he raised over $100,000 selling popcorn and other goodies. And he is in his 7th, 8th year of doing it at this level. And Mason and his dad Matt are truly a dynamic duo. They do it all together. They're out there. They were fundraising out in Holland yesterday because they've already got all the businesses in Muskegon. So if you haven't had a chance to buy something to support the Boy Scouts of America, please see Mason after he's set up outside. And just one other factoid is Mason doesn't just reserve his fundraising to Boy Scouts. He's participated in 18 food trucks over the last 3 years. So Mason and Matt.
Hi, I'm Todd Jacobs for the moment. Todd's busy doing community foundation stuff, so I'm introducing Amy Moore, who is Vice President of...
Evaluation and grantee capacity.
She came because of the topic today of literacy. So welcome, Amy. Okay, I'm no longer Todd. That was exhausting. Come on in. Make sure that you kind of get... Yeah, because it kind of keeps... Oh, yeah, keeps... Oh, you're... No, they don't care if they see me. Hey, school's back in session, which means we have student guests here again at Rotary, so help me welcome West Michigan Christian Warriors. All right, to introduce two of my favorite seniors is Josh Skoma, who is the counselor at the high school.
All right, I brought with me Jonathan Causing and Kendall Young, two seniors who are some of our best and brightest, and also two of the nicest students you will ever meet, willing to help you out in any way. So I'll let them say a couple things about themselves.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Clausing. I'm a senior at Western Michigan Christian High School, and I'm involved in a lot of things at school, such as like small groups and like our Green Machine Committee, which is like spirit, student life stuff, and as well as like I tutor students during our achievement hour and like just help them with math because we all don't like math. And I'm also involved in many of the spring musicals and fall plays, and while doing that I am in like cross country and baseball as well. Oh, and my future plans, I don't know where I want to go to college yet, but possibly studying financial management or pre-med.
Hi, I'm Kendall. I'm also a senior at WMC. I take part in varsity volleyball the past few years, as well as varsity tennis since my freshman year. At school, I'm involved, well, I'm currently running for student council president unopposed, so fingers crossed. I am also a part of Green Machine. I think that's all I do within the school, but outside of the school, I also volunteer at the Civic Theater every summer. I try to come back every year. I'm a part of Osteo Scholars, which is a program for high school students who want to be doctors in the future. And I also am a part of Youth Advisory Council, which is actually through the Muskegon Community Foundation. So we basically just give grants to different, well, I won't say nonprofits, but organizations that will benefit our youth. And yeah, in the future, I don't know where I want to go to college either, but I'm thinking of majoring in nursing to become a CRNA, so.
Lovely to have our students back again. Thank you. And now we're going to invite our panelists up.
Hello.
It's going
Need a microphone.
early, middle, adult.
Hello.
Liz? Yes. I think we're all aware of the problems of illiteracy in our community, the high costs to individuals and to our social and economic lives. We know the preschool prepares children to be ready for kindergarten, and right now, only 46% of Muskegon County's 3- and 4-year-olds are enrolled in our free public preschools. 62% of our third graders are not testing as proficient in reading, and 20% of adults cannot read above the 5th grade level. But we don't always talk about the flip side. How does literacy, the ability to read well, enhance our lives, our learning, enlarging the worldview, or just plain enjoyment? We have with us 3 rock stars of literacy in Muskegon County. Liz Londo is the parent liaison for the Great Start Collaborative. Michelle Wahlberg is a literacy coach from the MASD, and of course, our own Melissa Moore, who is the director of Read Muskegon. But before we hear from the panel, I'd like to share a video with you which shows how the acquisition of literacy can promote meaningful human actualization. And this is the goal that we are all invested in.
Do you want a super intelligent brain? You should probably put down the textbook and pick up a novel. Anthony here for D News, and we are living in a time when more people are interested in the sciences than ever. Merriam-Webster declared science the 2013 word of the year. This is an awesome thing. It is a spectacular thing. But as we are searching for brain food and self-improvement, it's important to remember how important the things that we find fun or even frivolous are to our brain as well. Take, for example, reading fiction. Humans love a good story. Our brain loves to try and find patterns and meanings in things, and stories are a great way to do that. If you're hearing a lecture that's full of facts and bullet points, just straight data, then the language parts of your brain work alone to decode the words into meaning. But if you're being told a story, something interesting happens. Not only do you decode the language, but your brain activates any other part that's related to the subject of the story. If you're hearing a story about someone running, your motor cortex lights up and goes through the mental motions of running. It's easier to remember stories than plain old facts because, to a certain extent, you're actually living the story. It's a phenomenon called grounded cognition, and those reactions could lead to lasting changes in your brain function. Researchers at Emory University had subjects read about 30 pages of a novel, and then they came in for fMRI brain scans for 5 days in a row afterwards. And for all 5 days, the subjects showed higher activity in their temporal cortex. That's an area that controls how receptive you are to language. Their central sulcuses were more active too, and that's the bit that makes that grounded cognition happen. So reading a novel for just a day increased every subject's language skills and motor skills for 5 days afterwards. I wonder if there is a novel out there that specifically describes the main character not tripping over his feet, because I could use the mental practice. New research also points to literary fiction in particular being important in the development of empathy, right? So multiple studies by the New School had participants read some popular fiction, some literary fiction, nonfiction, or nothing at all. And then they were given tests to see how well they could infer what other people were thinking or feeling. And people who read nothing or nonfiction had almost no gain. People who read pop fiction were about the same. But people who read literature showed huge gains in their ability to understand the emotions of others. Now, the researchers think that that is because pop fiction just isn't well written enough. There isn't consistency or predictability in the characters' reactions. But literary fiction has more depth, and it pays more attention to the psychology of their characters. So I guess less Hunger Games and more Brave New World if you're looking for a dystopian nightmare and you like to grow as a person.
That is the ideal. That's where we want our children to be when they finish their schooling, is to be able to engage in that kind of a literary life. So, how do we get this done? Liz, you have created many opportunities for children and families to enjoy books and read together. What have you observed? How does this affect the lives of your readers?
So one of the biggest ways that we have discovered it is helping families is through the bonds themselves. When we read together, we have a child on our lap or next to us, and we're looking at the same page. We're not distracted. We are flipping through the book. We're discovering what makes it interesting to us. What pictures do you see? What words are standing out to you? What do you think is going to happen next? So it's creating the bonds with parents at the base. And then it's also encouraging parents to be their child's first teacher. So the first couple years of life, we all know they're very important, those first 3 years. The brain growth is extraordinary. So when we're reading together, we're encouraging parents to talk to their kids, read to our kids, and we are creating bonds. And we are, sorry, just a second, reformat. What are we doing? No, just kidding. No, just kidding. So when we're sitting together, we're creating bonds, like I've said 5,000 times. And we're just keeping the literature together. And I'm going to stop talking.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Michelle, most of our audience is aware of the Maxson that children learn to read by 3rd grade so that they can read to learn for the rest of their lives. Beyond the obvious advantages of reading gives to a student in school, how else does it affect their lives?
Okay, I can answer that question. So the first word that I want to share with you is access. That is what being literate provides every person. Today we're talking about students, but that word access, I'd like you to keep that in mind. I do have a list of some things that it provides access to for the child. I'd like to share them with you. A literate child can navigate their world and explore the unknown. They can express themselves through the written word. They can learn more about themselves when they read about characters in a book that they can relate to culturally. They can research interesting topics. They can read simple directions on recipes, games, and maps. They can make lists, write letters, and read with family members and friends. I learned from my good friend Melissa that about 20% of our population in this county is functionally illiterate. So we have a desperate need to be sure that students are getting the best possible literacy experience that they can get prior to attending school and specifically before they reach 3rd grade. It's very vital. So I just want to leave you with that word one more time, access. When you think about literacy, think about the word access.
Melissa, you have many stories about how learning to read has changed people's lives. What are the major themes in these stories?
Sure. Excuse me. So the first thing, again, I want to always start with is helping our greater community understand the depth of the issue that we're talking about. So national statistics right now are saying that 54% of adults in our country read below a 6th grade level, over half of the adults. So when we talk about what are major characteristics, the first thing I would say is that every single one of those people is a unique individual who got to be an adult who struggles to read for a unique reason. And I think that understanding that and that they each have individual barriers helps us figure out the right way to help them succeed. So the first thing I would say is that they're all unique. There's no one cookie cutter approach that's going to work for each one of them. And that's the beauty and the challenge of working with adult learners. The other thing I would say is that they're all resilient. These are adults who have probably been faced with multiple barriers in their life and figured out how to continue moving forward through them. Imagine trying to navigate a day reading at a 2nd or 3rd grade level as an adult. You gain a lot of problem-solving skills, creative thinking skills, things that become very positive once you also learn the skill of reading, when you can bring those skills along with you to become a more productive member of our community. The other thing I would say about the adults that we work with is that they are oftentimes filled with hope and joy. Again, I think we look at adults who are low literacy as someone almost to be, I don't want to say pitied, but to have a lot of empathy for, which is okay. But when you see an adult who has been given the gift of reading, when they that light goes on and they realize that they've accomplished something that they didn't think they were ever going to be able to do, it's truly this amazing moment of joy, of excitement, of accomplishment, and hope for what else this can lead to in their lives.
Thank you. This is a question that I asked many times in my career, is what is the silver bullet? Is there one thing that you would point to that would make a dramatic impact on the question of literacy? So Liz, I've always thought early reading was a silver bullet in school, but what would you say is the silver bullet for early literature?
So the great news is it's something we all have already. We need to talk, read, and sing to our children. Talking every day. When we go to the grocery store, what are we picking out? What are we going to make for dinner? How much do things cost? Having these everyday conversations with each other are going to give your kids extra words, and it's going to put that in their tool basket. We're going to read 20 minutes every day. We need to read to them, and we need to sing. When we're in the car, turn on the music and sing, nursery rhymes. So it's ready within us, and it's important to encourage parents to talk, read, and sing when the baby's first born. Talk to your baby before it's born. And it's really going to give them a great start, and it's going to create really great kindergarteners that are ready to read.
Excellent. Michelle, what are the barriers to proficient reading in school-age kids, and what would be your silver bullet?
Okay, so I'm going to actually talk a little bit about my role. I'm an early literacy coach through the ISD, and what I do all day is I spend my time in schools with teachers in their classroom. One of the biggest barriers that we've had over the past, I don't know how long, is the availability of guest teachers or substitute teachers in the classroom, which in turn means these teachers cannot leave their classroom to come to professional development, enter coaching. So there's a large team of coaches that service all of the schools in the county, and we are able to go in and provide that shoulder-to-shoulder job-embedded coaching right in the classroom with students present. We can model, we can have coaching conversations, we can assist in assessing and helping them diagnose what they might do with a student to help them grow as a reader. And so that is what I see as one of the biggest silver bullets, is the availability of us to kind of boots on the ground, get into the classrooms with teachers and provide them the support that they desperately want and need, without having, removing that barrier of having to find someone to cover their classroom.
Excellent. Melissa, same theme. Are there any silver bullets? What has proven successful for adults in improving literacy? And is literacy the same as for adults as it is for the children?
Sure. So again, two-part answer. First, I would say the silver bullet for us is related to what Michelle said in her first answer, access. So we are talking again about adults and families usually living in high poverty with a lot of barriers in their day. So we cannot expect them to show up where we think is convenient to provide programming. We need to go where they are, into our jails, where we do a lot of work at Reed Muskegon, into our churches, into our healthcare and mental health providers, really going into community to provide our programming. And also, again, as I said earlier, creating and having the capacity to create that unique approach that helps meet a person where they're at and really look at that holistic person, not just their reading level, as we look at how we're going to help them move forward. Is literacy the same in adults? It is not. We talk about, at Reed Muskegon, I think a lot of people think what we do is teach reading. As Jane said, there's a difference between teaching reading and reading to learn. There's also a difference between knowing how to read and using literacy to move your life forward. Literacy allows you to engage in your community, to vote, to participate in a school board meeting, to go in front of your city council to find out why your roads aren't getting fixed. Literacy allows you to manage your finances and your health. It allows you to parent your child in a way that helps them succeed. So what we do at Reed Muskegon is use the foundational skill of reading to help empower individuals and families to move their lives forward in positive ways.
Excellent, thank you. Liz, what can the community at large do to support early child literacy?
So the first thing that everybody can do is to encourage the people in your lives, the young parents, the grandparents, the caregivers, daycare workers, to talk, read, and sing to these kiddos the first day that they meet them. Encourage them, encourage them, encourage them. Second is to help support what we're already doing. Read Early, Read Often, Dolly Parton Imagination Library, going to your local library and supporting them, and our local playgroups. We have well over 15 local playgroups in our community that are infusing books into parents' hands on a daily basis. So just being a part of what we're doing, donating books, supporting all the initiatives that we're a part of already would be very helpful.
Michelle, it's often the case that once the kids are in school, we think you're going to take care of them. how can the community support the work of reading proficiency?
I would be happy to answer that question, and I have a list. So first I want to say it will take all of us. We at the schools cannot do everything. It's up to the entire community. We need to work together to remove those barriers that Melissa named, and make it possible for families, not just families, but for parents and children when it comes to literacy. So here's my list. Working together, and what comes to mind when I think of that would be simple things like transportation, childcare, and access. Simple to us, but not to everyone. So how can we support that? Allowing, these things would allow parents to participate in school functions, like literacy nights and parent-teacher conferences. It's at these events where families come together to learn simple things they can do. Can you take that top page for me? To increase literacy for their children, and we cannot allow those barriers to stand in the way. Another thing that I thought about, there are things in the community that we can do to support this as well, and this kind of reiterates some of the things that you've heard already, but making sure that kids have access to books. And by access, I mean books that they pick out. We're not deciding for them, they're choosing. Even if it's between two books, letting them choose makes all the difference. They also need books that they can keep. So while going to the library is amazing, and I totally support that too, they need books they can keep in their home and read over and over again. Your children or children that you've been around have their favorites that you've probably read till you're blue in the face. Every kid needs to have that opportunity. They also need a caring adult. It might be their parent, it might be their daycare provider, it might be a neighbor, it could be an older sibling. We see a lot of that too. But someone who engages with them and talks to them about their book. It doesn't have to be a deep conversation, but conversation like talk, read, sing does make a significant impact. I also wanted to share barriers. As an educator for, 20 plus years, there are definitely barriers. And one barrier that kind of really breaks my heart the most is parents or families that don't feel comfortable coming on school grounds. For whatever reason, they had a bad experience, they don't feel comfortable there, and as much as they love their children, they're not opening the door to the office and coming in. So how can we reimagine opportunities for families that maybe aren't on school campus? Where else can we spread out and make that barrier go away so that people do feel comfortable being there and being a part of their child's life and helping them grow as a reader? I could keep going, but I'll stop.
Melissa, what would you ask the community to do in light of the literacy issues with the adult population?
All right, well, I'm going to speak to you all as a fellow Rotarian. Number one, I would say, Jane and I have had conversations about trying to relaunch the literacy.
And I did tell her in a message as well.
Rotary. If you saw the most recent Rotarian magazine, you'll see it's right there on the cover. It's an issue that Rotary has a history of addressing, so please look for information on that. Also, I want to work with Jane. Reed Muskegon has just developed and is getting ready to launch a new training called the Literacy Allies Training, which is specifically meant for community members like all of you who interact with the public to better help make those daily interactions that become hurdles for low literacy adults successful. So it could be in customer service, in human resources, in intakes at medical facilities, as an administrator at a school. So I would like to figure out with Jane a way to present that training. It's a 90-minute training to any Rotarians who are interested once we get that settled, and I would encourage you all to come and see if it's something that maybe you'd like to bring to your place of work or group. Then there are two other events that I want to make you aware of that Reed Muskegon and the Reed Muskegon Literacy Collaborative are hosting, and I would like to invite anyone interested to participate. One is September 16th that one is at Kojic Community Center. We are having a convening focused on, for the Literacy Collaborative and community members, focused on creating a culture of shared leadership around creating systemic change in literacy. Because we can't always keep trying to create solutions from the top without understanding the real hurdles that our families and our individuals who struggle with literacy are facing every day. So we are bringing in community members along with organizational leaders and interested individuals for a day-long convening that will be facilitated by Rosa Guzman-Snyder from the National Center for Families Learning, where we will provide a platform and create a culture of community members coming, not just coming to the table, but being given equal opportunity, if not greater opportunity, to bring ideas to the table and lead us in creating change around those ideas. And then third, sorry, and I'm winding up here, on Monday, September 26th, we are hosting a candidates forum at Covenant Community Church in Muskegon Heights. And we have invited congressional candidates, all of the districts for State House and State Senate and county commissions in Muskegon County, in partnership with the Michigan Association of Adult, Community, and Alternative Education and Michigan's Children, to come together to be in a forum format, to be asked questions by our community members whose lives are, again, being impacted by education inequity and a lot of those barriers that we talked about: childcare, transportation, unstable housing, nutrition, that relate to our poor education outcomes in our adult literacy. So if you are a candidate, because I know there are some here, please, if you are invited, really consider attending. We've got 12 people RSVP'd so far, including one of our congressional candidates. If you are working with a candidate or no one, check in with them and ask them if they have RSVP'd. And if you're an interested community member, please look for information on how to attend and consider joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your wisdom and your experience. Now we are going to give access to our members for any questions. And I would suggest to anyone who has a question that you start asking your question by telling us what's the best book that you've read in the last 6 months.
Questions? You were too thorough. Anybody?
Well, then we will very gratefully applaud our guests. I want you to know that a contribution will be made in your name for a literacy fund as thank you for spending your time with us. Today we do have birthdays to announce. Kimberly Taylor has a birthday on September 2nd, John Gale on September 3rd, Kim Keeson on September 6th, and John Snyder on September 6th. If any of those people are here, please honor us with your birthday present to us as we sing Happy Birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. All right, an honest man. We now have a time for our member spotlight. We strive in our Rotary membership to keep it as rich and diverse as our community. And one important avenue of this is vocational path. So we like to take this time to put a spotlight on one of our own in order to discover more about their lives outside Rotary. And today our spotlight will be on Ed Hendrickson.
My name is Ed Hendrickson. I joined Rotary in the year 2000 because I saw the outfit as a club of service to the community and to the world, and that interested me very much, and I wanted the camaraderie of a group like Rotary. and I've been satisfied ever since. Family, wife, 3 children, 2 sons, 1 daughter. Daughter is a nurse. Son 1 works in woodworking. Son 2 is in computers. And my interests currently are watercolor painting, which has followed 2 other interests what I just completed. One was violin making and the other was clock repair. I've been involved in all of those since my career at Dow was chemical engineering and styrofoam. What I do for Rotary is volunteer my services as often as I can. I am currently the Sergeant at Arms, and what that really is meeting preparation and meeting cleanup. So doing all the details that's required to make sure the meeting is done successfully, and then cleaning up after the meeting to put things away. The other thing I do for Rotary is I volunteer in things like Party in the Park or the Great Wine Escape, that kind of thing, or wherever help is needed. I try to volunteer if I've got the time and I can do it. I love this community. I think it has great potential. I think we've got to work to get it there because we come from a history of heavy industrialization, and this community really should be turned into a tourist community.
And you all thought this meeting just magically appeared every week. There's a lot of work, and Ed has been doing that work for us for a long time. Thank you, Ed. We have a couple of announcements. One is that the Grants Committee will meet immediately after this meeting today here in the Lake House. And the other announcement, as I channel John Noling, is that we have almost a full board of interactors, Rotaractors, and Rotarians who are going to be in the United Way Day of Caring, but we have 2 spots open, and you know how that's going to bother John. He's scratching his head and walking in circles all over the place, so please give him some relief. We just need 2 more to fill out his chart. The other announcement is that I just received a card from the Bluffton Bay Neighborhood Association. It was a thank you note for our support for their building of their fitness trail through the bike path in the neighborhood. It's always nice to hear from people who we have that kind of relationship with, and they would please my mother by giving me a handwritten thank you note. That was just lovely. Now we will go on to the raffle. Yay! Way in the back. Yay! We'd like to thank our guests for joining us, Matt and Mason, Amy, our student guests. Always good to have people come and visit us and see what we're about. Next week's program is going to be presented by the Mediation and Restorative Services, an agency that is amazing in the breadth of work that they do. You need to be here to find out exactly what they're doing. It'll take them all the presentation to go through it. It's just a wonderful group, and I hope you'll come and join us for that. Okay. And at this point, we will adjourn by rising and saying the four-way test.
I'll bring them out. Okay.
Of the things you think, say, and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?